Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to have this dialogue with us. I'm glad because the last time I was doing business here at this university was as a student in 2000. That's when I graduated from this university. So I feel, home, and I have wonderful memories of being here, although a lot of things have changed. The second time that I'm doing business, which is now, I'm doing bad news. And it's not exciting news that I bring, it's bad news, and part of the reason that many of us don't know what's happening in Mozambique has to do with historical reasons, but the biggest reason that we think might be a barrier for most of us to know what's happening is the language, because even if the information is available, the newspapers, the media, online, it's in Portuguese, and many of us have no access to information in that language. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to break that barrier here. Yesterday, an election observer, Athanasio Matarelli, was shot dead in Xai-Xai, just 200 kilometers away from Maputo. What was his sin? What was his crime? His crime was he had just opened a training session to train election observers, volunteers, who are part of the civil society. The civil society in Mozambique has created this coalition of organizations to monitor elections. So there's training going on in all the provinces, and he was responsible for training these observers in Gaza province, and he was shot dead yesterday. It's a sad day. We also have one provincial candidate in central Mozambique who had his mother's house petrol bombed, because there are certain people, within society and the political sphere who are not happy with him running for the governorship of that province. We have two teachers in the same province, a husband and a wife. They're a couple who received members of a political party who came to converse with them, door-to-door campaigning, and all of a sudden at night they were attacked and they're begging for their lives at the hospital. These are just examples of what's going on. It's a drop in the ocean of the many violations and abuses of human rights that are taking place in Mozambique. So we're having elections and campaign for elections in a very somber, gloomy, cloudy situation, political situation, and human rights. If you look at the Constitution of Mozambique, it's written very beautifully. As Dr. Paswana was saying, was citing there, the Constitution of Mozambique is based on international human rights instruments. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the African Charter, but what is happening in terms of respecting, promoting, and fulfilling human rights is contrary to what the Constitution of Mozambique is saying. So this is what is happening now. These elections are high-stake elections because for the first time in the history of Mozambique, the provincial governors will be elected by the people rather than being appointed by the president. So back then, when the ruling party, which is Frelimo, and I suspect all of you know about it, when the ruling party won elections, even by small margins, even in the provinces where they lost elections, they would get to appoint provincial governors everywhere. So it was winner takes it all. But with the democratization that has been taking place, the centralization of government, now for the first time, the provincial governors will be elected by the people. So the stakes are very, very, very high. Now, I'm going to give you a picture of human rights violations that have taken place before the stories that I have just told you about. So over the past 5 years, we've been monitoring the state of human rights in the country. And the picture is not pretty. In the last election that took place last year, the municipal election, you had Catholic priests, you had civil society organization representatives threatened with death, after they had monitored the election and the situation in the polls and reporting results live on the radio, on the internet. They received calls threatening them, they received SMSs threatening to end their lives. And that happened in central and northern Mozambique. We have also seen arbitrary arrests and detentions. The most emblematic case of that is a journalist who was arrested in January. What was he doing? There's armed conflict that is happening in northern Mozambique. So he was interviewing refugees, actually people who had fled their villages after they had been attacked by these group of young people who are locally called Al-Shabaab, although there is no known connection with the Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So he was kidnapped by the military, held in detention with mistreatment and torture for about 4 months, no charges, and he's been released recently, but he's not allowed to leave the country. That's just one example. I myself was kidnapped by the military in the same area last year in December with a colleague with whom I was traveling. So what we are saying here is really a trend of which we have first-hand experience. We have seen extrajudicial killings. These extrajudicial killings have been happening in the last 5 years. There's been torture. You will see in this report here, we have outlined a few cases. And one that I would like to highlight is that of a constitutional law professor at Edward University. One morning he was at a coffee shop, drinking coffee before his work day began, and on his way out of the coffee shop, he was gunned down, public execution style, and nothing has happened. Cases like this count up to 20-something, but there has been no investigations, no action has been taken by the government to ensure that those who have perpetrated these crimes are brought to justice. There is no word whatsoever from the government that something is being done about this. Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are also under threat, and we've observed this. And one example that I can cite here is a woman, a human rights defender, Fatima Mimiri. What was her crime? What had she done wrong? The organization for which she works, along with her colleagues, decided they were going to protest against the secret loans. They were saying, we don't want to pay secret loans that were taken from Western banks without our consent. These loans were illegally taken, secretly taken. So the loans are basically illegal, unconstitutional as well. The parliament has declared them unconstitutional. Courts have also declared them unconstitutional, but the government seems interested in continuing to pay these loans. So the organization was saying, no, we are not paying for these loans. So they printed T-shirts, and they were intimidated. You know, their office was surrounded by the police, and this woman, Fatima Mindiri in particular, was threatened on social media by a member of parliament. So they were urging people, you know, that she should be raped by 10 men to teach her a lesson. This is a member of parliament in the ruling party saying these kinds of things. It's all documented in this document that we have just distributed. There are also companies that conduct mining business without respecting human rights. In fact, it's not even transparent how these concessions to mining companies are made. Usually there are no community consultations, there are no compensations, there's no resettlement of people to ensure that people are out of harm's way. Now, in Tete, which is one of these provinces in central Mozambique, if you go there, you will see a lot of dark, in fact, it's a black smoke cloud coming from coal mining, this open pit coal mining. And the mining company, Brazilian mining company, and the Mozambican government have been hiding the information that shows that the pollution is at dangerous levels. So you see that the government that, according to the international law, has the obligation to protect human rights, to protect its people, is actually co-participating with abusers of human rights. And they're hiding the information that should be out in the public, but it's not happening. Now, if you look at Mozambique, you will see that the wealth in Mozambique is concentrated in central and northern Mozambique. But what happens is mining operations are taking place in these areas, but the people living in these areas, the people to whom these resources belong, do not benefit. So we have this economic growth, this development that is not evenly distributed. I would say what is happening in Mozambique in terms of having natural resources, rich in natural resources, without benefiting from them, is actually a reflection of the entire continent, where we have lots of natural resources, but you know, we, the owners of these natural resources, are not benefiting. You know, the multinational corporations are benefiting. It's a mirror of what's happening in the entire continent. The story is much longer and it's more depressing. But I will stop here and we will have a conversation in which, if you have questions and comments, we will be glad to clarify and have a dialogue. Thank you.